Hey y'all, thanks for tuning into my YouTube video. In this one, I'm going to break down the pyramid of pay for a typical California mid-size engineering company. Now, the numbers that I'm going to put forth here are, it's not going to be the same for every single company. But this is for your typical California engineering company. Now, if they do software engineering, it might be kind of different. This is for engineering and manufacturing. So, a company that makes a product, whatever that product might be, hobby drone planes, um, toaster ovens, whatever. And that company has a structure to it. And there's a ranking and a hierarchy of pay within that company. And this is probably scalable for larger companies. And again, there's going to be some exceptions to the rule. So, like, what if they do cybersecurity? Well, you're not going to see all these different roles in here necessarily. So, this is for like a well rounded company that creates products. Maybe they make, you know, ring lights or ovens or refrigerators, HVAC system components. You get the point. Now, before I get started and break all this down for you, I just want to show you a picture of me in a suit because it builds credibility. And let's take a look at this one here. Whoa. See that? So, conspiracy theorists, eat your heart out. All right, let's get to it. I am an engineering technician, a career engineering technician, and this is my view of how companies are set up. So I'm going to start from this point and explain outwards. All right, so engineering technicians. Pay range is like 60 to 100K in California. Engineering technicians, please do not accept less than 60K unless it's like your first job ever. You're still in trade school or you're still getting your associate's degree. But this is, that's your range, 60 to 100. And for engineering technicians who are interested in getting to the top of that range, reach out to me. I can help you. All right. Now, there's a brick ceiling above engineering techs, and then here you have engineers. Engineers, I'm going to say 80 to 140K. And the reason is some engineers might be like an associate engineer. So there's a range within engineers, associate to senior. Then you go up the ladder a little bit of pay scale anyway, and you're going to get embedded programmers. That's like firmware and people who have a strong understanding of both electronics, microelectronics, microcontrollers, FPGA, etc. And you're also going to have your software developers in this range, and they make about 120 to 175K. All right. Above them, you have senior software developer, who's in charge of all the software developers here. You have the engineering managers who are managing all these engineers and all these engineering technicians. And you have the product managers who are overseeing the various products that are in development. You go a little bit higher up, and now you're going to get the head of sales. This is a very important person. They bring money into the company. There is no company. They're without the money. So the head of sales, could be making 250, maybe more. Okay, head of sales, maybe they sell 10, 15 million dollars worth of product per year, and there's a lot of compensation involved in that. You got your chief product manager, who's in charge of all the products that the company makes, and you got the VP of marketing, who is responsible for how the messaging gets out to the public and how to persuade the public to buy these things. And then above them, you've got the C-suite. So that's your CTO, Chief Technical Officer, Chief Operating Officer. This includes the financial officers and the leads of accounting. And you've got your executives. And these are people who, well, in California, they probably just wear blue jeans and a t-shirt and maybe some nice shoes. But in the East Coast, they probably have suits on to build authority. And then at the top, you got the CEO. Now, let's just take a look at the pay scale for everyone in this kind of top part of the pyramid. So engineering techs, that's going to be somewhere between 60 and 100. Engineers, somewhere between 80 and 140. Embedded programmers, let's just say you make up to 175. I know in some companies you can make more, depending on how specialized you are, how much education. Senior software developer, engineering managers, product managers. Okay, these people can actually afford to maybe buy houses if they have a spouse who also works in, a California city such as LA, San Diego, San Francisco, Sacramento. And I mean maybe. When I say maybe they could buy a house, I mean like maybe. A house in a desirable neighborhood where they don't have to worry about their car getting broken into and that kind of stuff. Okay, up here, the VP of marketing, the head of sales, chief product manager. Now you're getting up into that like 250K range, possibly even more. Marketing right now is kind of trending down because of AI, so I don't know if marketing pay is that high anymore. I'm not the expert on marketing. Then up in the C-suite, you got your like 200 to 300K. See some nice watches up in there. And then the CEO, well, who knows what they make? Probably $1 million. Maybe less though. The CEO tends to be like a risk taker. Then as you go a little bit further down the pyramid, you got your sales base pay. So this is someone who just got a sales job. If they have a good year, heck, they can end up all the way up here. If the product is just on fire and they've got the skills and the connections, very interesting. There's like no education requirement to get into sales. You just need some sales experience or the willingness to do it. But, then again, some sales jobs are absolutely terrible and some salespeople really suffer through bad years, very inconsistent. So let's just say your base pay is going to be like, maybe 55K. No guarantees, right? High turnover. You got your HR, your IT admins. Depends on, sometimes IT is up here in the varsity squad, but sometimes IT is just kind of like an outsourced sort of position. Then you got your administrative assistants, various kinds of logistics, the people who are on the manufacturing floor, who are supervising things. You got your forklift operators. Okay, those people might make up to 65K, 45K to 65. And then at the very bottom of the pyramid, you got the assembly line worker who's doing, repetitive tasks that are easy to train and easy to replace. And this is 35K, right? Okay, now there's a couple lines going on here that might be of interest. One is the money line, the most obvious one. So this line should actually extend all the way down here. So as you go up the pyramid, you make more money. Now there is this subsection of the pyramid, which I call the education vortex. This is very significant to engineering technicians. So an engineering tech typically has a 2-year degree, maybe just a trades degree, maybe a 4-year degree from like DeVry or some kind of school where they didn't have to do all the hard calculus and all of the really challenging products that like the UCLA mechanical engineers and electrical engineers did. So we're down here in the engineering technician category. Also, by the way, here you've got your like the CEO's personal assistant. You might have the head of HR, and probably everybody's falling in this kind of pricing range, salary range, 60K to 100K. Now, the problem with the engineering technician is that there's a brick ceiling above them. They have a 2-year degree, and as an engineering technician, in my experience, they will never call you an engineer. Not if you have 10 years experience, 15 years experience, 20 years experience. Not if you are the freaking Kobe Bryant of engineering techs. It's just, it doesn't have, you'll always be the associate, the junior, the lower than. You can't make it to engineer from engineering technician. Now, something that can happen is you can become the lead engineering technician and start to get maybe in this pay range, or the lab manager, and that's a possibility, to get into this pay range by being some kind of a lab manager. It is going to be an uphill battle. And it is possible for an engineering technician to eventually end up in this box with engineering managers. If you've been at the company for 20 years or something, and the engineering technician equipment inside and out, and you become the subject matter expert on a bunch of equipment in, let's say, scanning electron microscopy, X-ray fluorescent spectroscopy, X-raying PCBs that go in automotive and aerospace assemblies, etc., you might end up in this box, but it's going to take a really long time. There is no way you can climb this ladder fast as an engineering tech. That's why I wrote that there's a brick ceiling right here. Good luck getting through that. So as an engineering tech, you kind of gotta love your job, and hey, try to get to the top of this range. And I am seeing nowadays there are engineering technician jobs out there that go as high as 125K, just because engineering techs, you're connected to these other zones so closely. You're going to talk to the senior software developer when they need you to build a something or another to test their concept. You're going to talk to the engineering managers regularly. Product manager, when they don't feel like going up and down the chain of command, they're going to reach out straight to you and ask you questions. And there are times when you might hear from the chief technical officer. And in a mid-sized company, chief technical officer comes down to my lab bench and is like, hey, how's this project going? Hey, by the way, I have this blown speaker, would you solder it up, and I'll, get you coffee one day or whatever. So that, engineering technicians are communicators in a major way, or at least that's the way that you would go from 60 to 100 in this field, is through your communication skills. And obviously you need a really strong skill stack on the front end engineering. So CAD, failure analysis, oscilloscope, 3D printing, machining, etc. All right, now let's talk about the engineers. Engineers typically have a 4-year degree, in some cases a master's. Your engineers, they work less with their hands, significantly less with their hands, and they do a lot of documentation, a lot of design. So the kind of CAD that an engineer knows versus the kind of CAD that an engineering technician knows, not comparable. Engineers are superior in computer-aided drafting and design. I mean, they're really, really good at it. And the way that they organize their files, their documentation, their tolerances, their forethought as far as manufacturing goes, what kind of materials are you going to use, what's the tooling going to look like, how can we cost down, what are the supply chain issues, although that's things that they learn from talking to their product managers, right? Okay, you go up the line, you got embedded programs and software developers. Software development is its own thing. Typically, you have a 4-year degree. Every once in a while, you see somebody who, they studied biology, but then they just got really, really good at software development. It is still in the education vortex because they're going to have a lot of educational pedigree in order to be a competent software developer, because all I know is that it's known to be complicated. I'm not a software developer myself. Then you have embedded programmers, which is also complicated. So embedded programmers, they're pretty strong in double E. A lot of them studied double E and also computer science, or they studied computer science and gained a strong understanding of double E. Um, these people are dual threat. So think of like robotics, for instance. They have a really good understanding of how electronic circuits work, how to troubleshoot with electronic circuits, and then they're also very strong programmers and coders. And they know how to collect data, they know how to automate data collection. So this is just a high pedigree of tech skill. And a lot of times engineering technicians and embedded programmers do similar things, but engineering technicians, get stuck with more of the grunt work, and embedded programmers might be given several weeks to design an experiment where they're going to use all those high level skills. Maybe they're going to use MATLAB to collect, very precise data for whatever the product is that they're designing. Okay, you move up the line, and here you're starting to see more like bachelor's degree, maybe master's. Now you've got your engineering managers, your senior software developers. Most of these people are going to have master's degrees. Product manager maybe has a 4-year degree and an MBA. Maybe, maybe not. In some cases, you even have PhDs in this box right here, from 175 to 225. Sometimes even 250, if they're strong negotiators. Otherwise, they're going to try and keep them below that. And then this is the end of the education vortex. So, all right, 2-year, 4-year, 4-year/6-year, 4-year/6-year. And you can see the differences from like 60 to 225. 60 being the lowest, right? Then all of a sudden, end education, start public relations. As you go up here, and you've got the VP of marketing, this person might just have like a 4-year degree. Doesn't really matter. They have a proven track record of being able to launch campaigns to the public that sells goods. That's it. So however they got into that, and they've been doing it for a while, they got a proven track record. They're like, hey, I can communicate the value of your product to the public and make them want it so that they're going to buy it. That's powerful to a company. It brings money in. These people are all expenses. This is what's hard for us to accept, okay? It's hard for us to accept this, but we cost the company money. We're part of the company overhead. These people, VP of marketing, head of sales, bring money in. See that? They bring the money in. So these people are in pretty good with the top, as long as they are, in fact, bringing money in. You also might have your chief product manager. So this person is going to work with the VP of marketing. They're going to work with the head of sales. They're going to figure out what next year's product is going to be, the market research, how they're going to interface with their, sales reps all over the world. What's the plan here? What's the supply chain issues? What are the logistical issues? Considering all the resources they have on their team here, how are they going to be able to develop this thing? How much is it going to cost? Your chief product manager up there. Then up here, you got your C-suite. Again, like your chief technical officer might be someone with a 4-year degree who started here as an engineer, but they were just so damn good at it that they moved up the ladder really fast. That's just somebody with a lot of, it's the smartest guy in the room status is typically your CTO. Chief operating officer could be a similar sort of a thing. Executives, 4-year business school, maybe an MBA. They've got connections in business. They run businesses. I don't know much about that. I don't know how they get there. And then the CEO at the top. Well, this is an interesting character. I mean, the CEO might have had a 2.7 GPA and like some rando degree, maybe economics or something. It doesn't matter. They were probably, I think your archetypical CEO was the president of a fraternity, uh, you know, maybe had the sniffles a bit in college, and knew how to raise money. They knew how to get people together and pitch an idea and be like, hey, we're going to have a fraternity sorority mixer. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be themed. Sign up now. Put down your $20 so you can reserve your spot. We're going to get a DJ, whatever. Okay. And they were comfortable with just putting themselves out in public and saying, hey, I'm the one who's going to organize the thing. And, they're like an ideas person. They're someone who pitches ideas. They network with investors and people with a lot of money, which brings the money into the company. And it's just pure charisma up here. And then they take advisory from their C-suite and from all these other people, head of sales, chief product manager. It's pretty rare that the CEO would come in contact with some of the other people who are on what I call the varsity squad, but sometimes. If you're at a mid-sized company, yeah, absolutely. You see the CEO and, and just chat about, I don't know, farmers markets or something. Doesn't really matter. But it's not like the CEO is going to come downstairs and say, did you get the report done on the, prototype for this one aspect of this one project? No, they're much more big picture. That's not how that works. Now, the reason I call this the varsity squad is as long as you're here, you do get some special treatment. It's a thing. Maybe you were in high school at some point and there was some kind of athletic team and they all wore their varsity jackets on Friday before the game. And depending on whether you were a nerd or a jock or an outsider, maybe you thought that was cool or you resented that or whatever. But putting your feelings aside, those people had special jackets. They were all in the team. The CEO was kind of like the coach. And the bottom line is that you're here in the varsity squad, you get some kind of special perks. You can say, hey, I'm feeling kind of burnt out. I'm going to take a vacation. You're going to get some free lunches. You have some more negotiation leverage. It's understood that the people in this box are very important to the product development, that the products are going to get pumped out by the company, and everyone in here, you got to have them. They're not that easily replaceable, basically. Including your engineering technicians who maybe have 2-year degree, but like good luck finding someone who can do everything that your engineering tech can do. Yeah, there's lots of engineers out there. Good luck finding one who's going to step in and understand the way that things are done at this company, the history of the projects, the specific way that people like things designed, the problems they've encountered in the past, and all the way down the line. Because every time you lose one of these valuable employees in the varsity squad, you lose years of knowledge. Sometimes you lose a whole generation of knowledge, and it takes a long time to bridge that gap. So that's why I call it varsity squad. And, the varsity squad gets to do special little things like, oh, hey, I'm going to take my kids to soccer practice. But, then when I come back, I'm going to finish the code, so it'll be done by Friday. And it's just understood, like, okay, you produce something of value to this company, so you don't need to be at the 3:00 meeting. But we are counting on you to have that thing done by Friday. Okay, down here, you've got your like sales-based pay. This is just some 22-year-old or something, but they might be 30, they might be 40, they might be 50. You got your HR employees and everybody who handles all the paperwork. You got some of your IT admins who are, keeping an eye on the network and trying to make sure that you don't get hacked. You could argue that the IT is on the varsity squad or somebody is, because they might go direct to the CEO and say like, hey, did you receive a phishing scam in your email? All right, then you go down the line and you got your like administrative assistants, logistics, manufacturing floor supervisor, assuming that they're not an engineer. This is just someone who's been out on the manufacturing floor for a while and can oversee the assembly line workers. Um, you got like your forklift operators and folks like that. And again, I don't mean to in any way demean their importance. These people are extremely important. And like your engineers, engineering technicians, and like some of these people are super tight. Maybe like go out for drinks on the weekend or whatever. Um, but that's just to say this is how society views the situation. Okay, this is not my choice because who makes everything in the end? It's the assembly line worker. The person who actually puts it together and builds it is the lowest paid one. It's unbelievable, right? Um, but as I see it, and you know what? Leave in the comments. If you disagree with me, feel free to put in the comments. I'd be glad to know what you think is the real hierarchy, or what you think is the real, you know, fair compensation. Now, there's just one side note I wanted to put here, and this is the fly under the radar vortex. This is kind of a fun one. Okay, so if you're a product manager and engineering manager, you are not flying under the radar. If you need to be in 10 hours of meetings, you need to be in 10 hours of meetings. Sorry, you got a lot of responsibility. That's why they pay that high price tag for you. But as you get into this little zone here, your embedded programmers, engineers, all the way down to like your sales HR, you can do a fly under the radar thing, which is kind of cool. Just to say that, yeah, you're going to have to work for your bread, but there's, little things that can happen. You say, oh, yeah, I got an appointment on Thursday, so I'll be in at 11, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, okay. Depending on the company you're working at, right? Or engineers, it's like, why were they offline for 3 hours in the middle of the day on Wednesday? It's like, well, nobody knows, but you know what? They're like files that they shared with the team on the meeting the day before show that they have been doing work. So they're doing the fly under the radar thing. Then don't draw a lot of attention to themselves. When you get down here to like admin assistant, logistics, manufacturing, these are all 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 type jobs, or maybe 7 to 3, whatever it might be. So you got to be there. This is like more of like a punch in, punch out sort of situation, and assembly line worker as well. So that's pretty much it. CEO's personal assistant, snuck that in there. Head of HR, right? So they're also here in this kind of top part of the triangle. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what your thoughts are. Thoughts are.